Another movie I watched recently was The First Omen, a prequel to the 1976 film that reinvented horror, brought back Gregory Peck as a leading man, and has been an enduring classic. It spawned a number of sequels. Damien Omen 2 in 1979 advanced the story of the Antichrist being raised as a young boy by the American ambassador to the United Kingdom. Now Damien would be a young teen and starting to gain control of his powers. The film advanced further in 1983's, or was it 1981's, The Final Conflict, aka Omen 3, where he's now an adult, played by Sam Neill, in a star-making role, and becoming, again, ambassador to the United Kingdom. A film that ends with his death and the second coming of Christ. There was a 2006 remake, which was produced solely because of the release date, the 6th of June 2006, 666. And it starred, I believe, Liv Schreiber and Julia Stiles, and it was generally fairly terrible. It was shot in Prague and tried to look like London, but it was so over the top and so grand guignol in its stylings that it completely forgot why the original worked, that Richard Donner, the director, one of the great underrated directors, I feel, deliberately plays the whole thing completely straight, completely serious, and completely realistic. All the terrible incidents that happen, all the horrible deaths could simply be coincidence. They could simply be happenstance, rather than the malign hand of Satan protecting his offspring. So now we have The First Omen, a direct prequel to the original film set in Rome in 1971. It's about an American novitiate nun attending a convent and preparing to take holy orders herself. She's paired with another novitiate who is enjoying her last few weeks of freedom, going out to clubs and such. But there are a number of children at the orphanage where she's working, including one strange girl who's kept in isolation. As the novitiate starts to investigate further, she discovers that there is some kind of strange conspiracy going on and is warned by a mysterious Irish priest named Brennan, played in the original by Patrick Troughton and here by Ralph Ineson, that there is indeed a plan amongst a faction of the church that wants to create an antichrist to drive people back to the church now that they're splitting away due to the Cultural Revolution and teenagers and their pop music and such. This could have been dreadful. It could have been as bad as the remake, but it actually was surprisingly good. It's not great by any means, but it's far better than it has any right to be. It's focused, I think, a lot on character, more so than I was expecting. Nell Tiger Free in the lead role I thought was very good, although her accent slips occasionally and you hear her real English vowels. And there's a real emphasis on the personal journey and the characterization element as we go through this. It's not just shocks and heads coming off and such that it could have been to capitalize on the original film's reputation for gruesome, graphic deaths. Here it's deliberately a bit more weighty, a bit more dramatic. There are gruesome deaths, and there are moments where the film feels much more informed by Italian giallo movies. The early 70s Rome setting, I think, helps a great deal. And there is a sequence late in the movie that is directly homaging the 1981 film Possession, which also starred Sam Neill, ironically enough, in which a film that's too bizarre and too complicated to describe, which a woman has a seizure relating to her pregnancy in a public place. And that is recreated in a way here, which is quite daring, I think, for a big studio-funded picture. There are some star names in supporting roles. Charles Dance has little more than a cameo. Bill Nighy has a significant supporting role, but it's a bit of a thankless one. Nevertheless, this is better than the run-of-the-mill horror movies. I dismiss a lot of these things as junk horror, that they're simply there to part gullible teenagers from their money. But this is definitely a cut above. There's definitely a sense of a director making an effort, of knowing their stuff, of being aware of horror heritage and capitalizing on that, and trying to look at how this material could incorporate with the original film very well. I mean, we see a photograph of Gregory Peck, and the Oscar-winning music cue Ave Satani from the original makes an appearance late in the story. It's not a great film, as I say, but it's if you enjoy horror, this is a good shout. This is something that's probably worth your time. It is so much better than it could have been, and frankly, it's better than all the other Omen films apart from the original.